Hi there, I'm Martha Van Dam, and this is Living Beyond. And happy Halloween to all of you. Today is October 31st, and in many countries it is Halloween. In Mexico, it is the beginning of the 3-day festival, the Day of the Dead. And also for us here in America, and in some other countries, it is the end of the very last day of Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And if you've been paying attention to me at all, you know I've been talking about awareness for inflammatory breast cancer because it just doesn't get the press that it needs, and we need to know. So, however, let's look at this Halloween perspective, this Halloween idea. What are we about to see tonight? We're going to see little ghosts and goblins. We're going to see little zombies and horrible, scary masks. We're going to see masks and makeup that looks like broken bones and flesh exposed. It's all intended to be very, very scary. I want you to know the scariest thing I've ever heard in my life was when I was 56 years old and I heard the words, "It is malignant." Those 3 words. Many of you have heard something similar. Many of you have heard, "It is cancer. I'm sorry, but there is cancer. I'm sorry, but we found cancer." Many of you have heard something similar. And I'll be honest, when I look back into my life, there have been other very scary things I've had to face. It's just that as I went through each one, I dealt with them and I learned to move through and I grew through. And this cancer one was the scariest one I've ever faced so far. So let's think about that just for a minute. How do we live with these scary things? When it's Halloween, we know it's a fake out. We know it's makeup. We know it's a mask. We know that the fire-looking decorations set up in the window are not really real. We know that there really isn't a witch that has landed in our tree in our yard. So we know not to be afraid. But when we face something like cancer or divorce or the illness of a child or the loss of a job, so many things that can be frightening in life. When we face those things, they don't feel fake. In fact, they may be very, very real. But what I've discovered is that just like Halloween costumes lose their fear when we take them apart, when we get closer to them and realize that we're looking at plastic and makeup and fake things, when we realize that, our fear may go away or should go away. The same thing happens when we literally take those things that we are the most scared of and we bring them straight to our face and we look at them. Those fears lose their strength. They begin to crumble when we bring them to the surface. So early on in my diagnosis, I was scared, so much fear. And it was this ambiguous, kind of difficult to nail down, foggy kind of fear. It wasn't anything specific, just scared. I just felt scared. And so I had a friend who had died the exact same day that she died on the 2nd floor in the ICU after a 14-year struggle dealing with cancer. She died from that 14 years later. She died on the 2nd floor when I was on the 1st floor having surgical biopsies. So the first thing I learned when I woke up was that I'd lost her as my friend on this earth. And so soon after, when I'm dealing with my own diagnosis, I just said out loud, kind of to Nancy and kind of just to myself, but I just said, "Nancy, I'm just so scared." And I swear to you, I heard an answer in my head, but the answer in my head in Nancy's voice said, "What are you scared of?" Well, I don't know about you, but when people that I know have died, I feel when I hear something that sounds like their voice and it actually sounds like they're talking to me, I'm going to listen and I'm going to answer back. I don't know. It just seems like the thing to do. And so she said, or I heard in my head, or the thought was there, "What are you scared of?" And that stopped me. And as I said, someone asks you from beyond a question, you're going to answer. And so I started thinking and I said, well, out loud still, I said, well, I'm not really afraid of the chemotherapy. I'm not afraid of losing my hair. I'm not really afraid of the surgery itself. Maybe a little fear of what life will be like when my body is so changed. I'm not afraid of the radiation. I'm not afraid of being dead. I'm really not afraid of the dying process. You see how each little piece of what are you afraid of began to come out. And as it came out, or as they came out, instantaneously, I realized that for each one of those things, there was no fear. I literally wasn't afraid of the pieces of the treatment. I knew that if I was sick or I was in pain, there were things that they could give me that would be so very helpful. I knew that and was grateful for at that time I had good insurance, and I knew that I was getting good medical care. I realized that's not the same for everyone. But as I whittled down, what are the things you were afraid of, I was able to come down to what was really at the core of it. And what, as I pulled apart all the things I was not afraid of, because I was taking the time to look at it and answer the question, what am I really afraid of? Not just I'm afraid of cancer, I'm afraid of being sick, I'm afraid of dying. Bringing it to the specific things, each of those specific things faded away because they really weren't worth being afraid of when I really looked at them square in my face. And what it came down to was the understanding of much deeper, you're afraid of being forgotten. You're afraid you will die, you will be gone from this earth, you will be forgotten, life will go on, and you won't have mattered. Because at the core of life, we all want to feel like we've mattered, like we've made a difference. But breaking down that fear and getting to the crux of the issue, the real issue, literally made the fears go away. All of the ones that I realized didn't matter, but even this one, the fear of not mattering, because I believe that we all matter. And I was able to shift my perspective to, if I want to be sure that my life means something on this earth, then what that means is don't be afraid of death, but grab hold of life with everything that I have and live in such a way that I do make a difference. And that, yes, even if I do die, people's lives go on, but I have made a positive difference in their life. And that is unforgettable. So my point to you today is, whatever is out there that's fearful to you, whether it's cancer, whether it's something different, let this day of spookiness, of perceived and made up fears, let this day be a reminder to you to look behind the mask, break apart the fake that you see in front of you. And I'm not foolish enough to think that some of the things you're fearful of aren't big and bad and ugly. I understand they're big and bad and ugly. But even then, when we break them down, very often we find out that there's actually very little to genuinely be fearful of. Have a wonderful evening. I hope you have fun with your family. If you don't have family, I hope that you are able to enjoy at least the beautiful fall weather, enjoy the cool Christmas coming into the air in our hemisphere, and have a wonderful, wonderful Halloween. I, for one, am going to be enjoying time with my grandchildren and a couple of my kids and my husband. I'm going to watch children laugh in the neighborhood. I'm going to hand out candy, and it's going to be an amazingly wonderful evening. Hope that the rest of your day is good too. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.